Hello, hello, hello. Howdy, y'all, from Texas. How are you? It's Thursday, December the 13th, 2018, as we're down to 12 days before Christmas. They should write a song about that, you know? They should. Well, wait a minute. Maybe they did. It's funny when you think about funny things, funny stuff that's said, and humor, because so many people I've noticed that are serious take themselves so seriously, and they can't laugh. You know, if they make a mistake or whatever, there's a lot of pride that they get in the way, and it's just everything's got to be serious, and everything's got to be, you know. And in the last couple of days, I've been talking about some serious things. Yes, I don't normally talk about witches. I don't talk about Nicolaitans. I don't talk about, you know, some of the stuff in the past, but the Lord's been having me go there, and I want to change things up and to talk a little bit more about fun things, because that's who I really am at the core, is I enjoy doing fun things and having fun doing them. You know, when I grew up on a farm in northern Indiana, 160 acres. We had pigs, we had cattle. I was in 4-H, I was in FFA, and we had a lot of work to do all the time. In fact, I remember my dad, he wanted us to like go out into the field and like pick up rocks. And it's like every year there were more rocks. It's like the rocks birthed from the earth. And it's like you couldn't be out there, you know, you could be out there, you know, for a month and picking up rocks, and the rocks wouldn't all go away. They were always there. And same thing like with weeds. Seems like there was always weeds. Buttonweed, I remember we had to like identify certain weeds and stuff within, you know, the fields, and we'd have to go to FFA and 4-H, you know. Nothing in me really ever wanted to be a farmer. You know, I enjoyed the peace and quiet that we had out there and looking at stars and all that stuff. But it's interesting because, like, my brothers and I, we would have fun when we did work. We'd bale hay, and it'd be hotter than all get out, like in the summertime in Indiana. It'd be miserable. You'd be sweating like crazy, and you'd be putting hay into the barn, and it'd be really hot, and you'd end up with green boogers at the end of the night, you know. I mean, just being honest, you know, that's what farm life was, and had to clean out you know, manure from the pigs and stuff on Saturday mornings after I played basketball and Friday nights. But my brother and I would always have fun. We'd always make jokes. We'd always cut up. We'd always have, you know, laugh. Sometimes my dad didn't have quite the same humor as we did. So, but I think I've morphed from that to continuing to have fun, no matter what subject that I'm talking about, no matter what the enemy might try and do to come against. Is I like to laugh, I like to have fun. People that know me know that that's who I really am, you know. I can, you know, have fun with no matter what situation we're in. And it's those that get really super serious that I've learned oftentimes are getting hit by the enemy pretty strong, you know, and they may not want to admit it. They may want to simply push it off and say, you know, nope, I am perfect, and it's everybody else is weird in the world that's laughing and having fun. So anyways, I just wanted to say that today it marks the 1-year anniversary from Patty and Paul Bellis and getting delivered. And I'm going to share a little bit about that up front. I was going to invite her on. She's having some challenges getting the connection to work, so I may have to interview her at a subsequent time. But it's really awesome to hear the testimony, because testimonies give us a lot of encouragement, because if God did that for a certain couple, he can do that for us, and it gives you hope. So essentially, I know in their situation that, you know, Paul wasn't really wanting to listen to anything that I had to say, and he was more serious. And so his wife had followed me for several months, and then finally the Lord set it up to where he ended up agreeing to go, even though he didn't want to go. And then when he got there at this house in the north side of Houston, he didn't want to listen, but they put him right next to a speaker, so we had to. So ultimately, I took him through the deliverance, and he listened, you know, humbled himself and listened. And that's really what it comes down to for so many people that are not funny, that don't laugh, that don't enjoy life, is that they get so serious and the prideful spirits come in, causing them to not want to admit that there's anything challenging within their lives. When I do a session with a person, with a couple, especially couples, I always know that there's one that's going to be a stronger Jezebel, one that's going to be the stronger Ahab, and the one that's a stronger Jezebel has more pride. And there can be both. There can be a different, equal level or whatever. So, but you have to discern it. You have to understand and hear. So ultimately, when you do a session with someone, you have to speak the truth in love. You can never speak it in harshness because people won't listen when it's in harshness. You have to do it in love. So ultimately, I always normally try and get a word from the Lord or let the Lord direct any type of a session that I might do, and it works. A pretty good percentage, but it doesn't always 100% because it's up to each individual. So anyway, it's a powerful testimony, and so I'm hopeful to have Patty. In fact, I'm not sure if she's joined yet or not. If you want to request to come on, we can try it and see if it will work. Otherwise, we will move on to my topic of the day. So let me know. And other thing I'm going to say is that we just added a new person in a new country that has been certified under Restored to Freedom to do deliverances. And I'm so excited. Her name is Lena, and she is from England, although ultimately she's from India, which is interesting. So I could almost say I picked up 2 new countries, but no, not going to cheat. She is in England. She's lived there, I think she said, we talked yesterday, for like 16 years, something like that. And so I'm excited because we've had a lot of requests from people from England saying, you need to have some people here that can do the deliverances. And so we finally have one now, and I know that they have a lot of challenges with the Leviathan spirit because there's a lot of the Freemasons that really started up over there, that movement, unfortunately. And there's people called Rothschilds, I think, and so she agreed. She admitted, yep, there's a lot of people here that are very prideful. It twists the truth in their minds. A lot of them are in the church, so forth and so on. So ultimately, she also said that a lot of people over there worship angels. Now, I never heard that one before. I'm like, wow. As Restored to Freedom grows, and it's growing, it's hard to keep up right now. We're getting so many people that are now getting certified and keeping me and Tina extremely busy. And it's fun, though. We're up to, what is it now, 8 countries. People in 8 countries now, almost 80 people that have been certified. We have people in Australia, Brazil. We have Canada, 4 people in Ontario, 1 in British Columbia, 1 in Qatar, the Middle East, 1 in New Zealand, Philippines, South Africa, and of course a whole slew in the United States. And the biggest state of RTF deliverance team members are in Texas. My Texas people, good folks down here that recognize and can discern that, yes, people do have demons. It's a surprise, I know, to a lot of people in the church. It's like, oh my gosh, how can a Christian have a demon? Because I always believed that. I always thought that was true, and it's not. It's not at all. So they can, and they do, and most do. So anyway, it's taken on a life of its own. It's growing and growing and growing, and we all have to be in love. We have to have love. That's what has to come out of our mouths. We can't be prideful. We can't be arrogant. We can't be condemning. People will not receive the message. So anyway, excited about the growth that continues to happen, and I'm sure that as 2019 comes in, as we have people all over the world, we'll start to do. I'm going to start doing more traveling outside the United States, and spending weeks and or maybe months in different countries doing this. So excited about that because it needs to happen. There's a huge flow of people that know they need to. There's something missing in their lives, and they're not at peace. And just because they go to church doesn't mean that they're operating as a Christian, and that doesn't mean they're going to go to heaven, because we all know that Proverbs 7:21-23, Lord, Lord, look all I've done for you. Cast out demons in your name, prophesy in your name, done many wonders in your name. And he said, depart from me. I never knew you, workers of iniquity, because he knew their hearts were not pure and that their minds were tainted. And so, and of course, we've talked a lot about witches here lately, and that they're in the church, and then they're kind of hard to spot because 90% of what they say makes sense. It's the 10% that makes them a little bit weird that you have to discern and pick that out. And sometimes it may not be for weeks or months before you can discern that. You have to be around the person for a while. So anyway, so congratulations goes out again to Patty and Paul Bellis from Houston, celebrating 1 year of the deliverance that took place 1 year ago tonight at a home in near Spring. I think that's what was in Spring, Texas, which is north of Houston, a suburb. So awesome. Love it. I love it. I love it. And again, we're getting testimonies every day from people. It's amazing. I love it. I love watching what God's doing. It's all God. It's nothing with me or my team. Again, he's using people that have never done ministry before, that have a humble heart, that has his heart, that wants people set free. So anyways, so today, I'm going to talk about, are you serious or can you laugh at yourself? How many times are people so serious? And again, what I've noticed, again, I've been doing this for several years now. When people get delivered, they have more fun. A lot of times they say, what, blondes have more fun? Well, blondes that get delivered have more fun. Why? Because they don't have the demonic voices tormenting them. When people have demonic voices tormenting them, they normally are very serious. They take an offense. They lie. They hurt people. They're prideful. I mean, it's you see it. People that are super serious. I used to be more serious back in prior to 2008. I went through deliverance. The Lord did it himself, and then I was delivered. I was a different person, and then I could laugh more. Even though obviously I know that if you are in a relationship with someone that has Jezebel, Leviathan, Legion, it's not going to be very fun for you, obviously, because that spirit's going to hit you all the time. All the time. Doesn't mean physically they're going to hit you, but they're going to verbally say things to stop you, control you, shut you down, not let you operate in ministry, come against you no matter what you try and do. And those that are delivered have fun. And that's a good point there by Debbie. People that are caught up with Jezebel, Leviathan, they'll get mad at you if you're having fun. Like, you can't have fun. It's like, really? It's like, really? So, I grew up and I had fun, even though sometimes, my mom or my dad might want to be a little more serious. We'd go on vacations and stuff. We'd have fun. We'd enjoy things. But there was times we knew to be serious. But for the most part, in fact, I remember once, oh, there's Patty. I know, I'll see if I can get her to come on. We'll see. Let's see. This will work. All right, this works. Then praise the Lord. We can have Patty share. If not, then we will go on. So here we go. Waiting. As we're waiting, I will share. So I remember on April Fool's Day that my mom played a trick, a practical joke on my father by giving him pie and then putting shaving cream on the pie instead of whipped cream. And so all of us kids knew what was coming. And when my dad dug in to eat the pie and he took the bite and it was shaving cream, he like spit it out and he was not laughing. He wasn't having fun, and we were cracking up, And so it's funny about when things happen, and so we have to laugh about things. Of course, in that case, I know he probably wasn't real happy, but he had to scrape the shaving cream off, and I guess the connection's not going to work, Patty. So we'll have to figure that out later for a future show. So, but there's things we have to do to laugh at ourselves. Quit taking ourselves so doggone serious. People, I don't know everything. I can admit that. When people think they know everything, it's like, really? And I know some things. I know I have an expertise somewhat because of the experience I've gone through with Jezebel and Leviathan and Legion, witchcraft now. So essentially, as you have experiences, then that's a great teacher. Then you can help other people. You've gone through that. But, I don't know everything about, a lot of things. I don't know a lot of things about everything, The things that I do know, though, it's resonating with people. Okay, I'm going to try and see if Patty can come on this way. Yeah, there's something, I think maybe the enemy doesn't want Patty to come on and share her testimony. So, again, um, we'll give it here a minute and see if she can pop on or not. But she says she has her phone is like a couple of years old, so it may be that it's the technology, or it may be that there's something connection wise. So, but anyway, when my kids oftentimes would do things that were funny, I have most all of my kids are funny, but I'll say my son Austin, my middle child, he probably has the highest level of funniness, humor. And I saw him, about whatever a month ago, and he was cracking me up. We were talking at the table, and he was talking about eating ramen noodles and how he loved ramen noodles. And the person that I was with had to eat ramen noodles for a while, and she did not want ramen noodles anymore. And he's like, "Are you kidding? Ramen noodles are good." And so it was funny, because he could make fun. He couldn't afford anything more than just at the time ramen noodles, and he didn't complain about it. I look back at my life. I had to give plasma to make money. I'm thinking, wow, this is funny. I used to make 200,000 plus a year as an executive in the financial services banking arena and internet banking and stuff. And here I am. The Lord took me from where I was making all this money and had all this money saved up to all the money was gone to be able to humble me completely. And then I had to get plasma for like several months, and I had to score tests for like $14 an hour. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Lord, it wasn't fun, but yet I could find humor in it, and we have to look for that. We have to not take ourselves too seriously and get mad and get angry at the Lord, you know. If you go out now, obviously, if there's people that hurt you and they constantly hurt you, it is hard to find humor in that. I get that. I understand that. I can know what you're going through. But if you think about it, Proverbs 17:22 says, "A merry heart does good like medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bones." So it's true. It's true, and you can get yourself so sick, if you get all this anger and stuff and taking offense and all this crap because you take yourself so seriously. And all that, a lot of that comes back to Leviathan and pride. When you have pride in your life, you can't just lay back and have fun and laugh, laugh at yourself if you make a mistake. I noticed that with several people that if they made a mistake, it was like the worst thing in the world. So they do everything they could to lie and to cover up about what they did so that they would look good instead of just laughing about it and admitting, oh, I made a mistake. Or I took the GPS and it took me to the dump instead of the bank or instead of the church, and laugh about it already. And laughter is good medicine. It increases like endorphins, and a lot of good things are released in your body, when you have a good laugh. And when I'm laughing, it's like oftentimes I can't stop. A friend of mine and I were watching a movie. I hadn't watched movies for hardly ever, but it was just like last week, and the movie was funny all the way through. It had kind of like our sense of humor, and we were cracking up, laughing, laughing, laughing through the whole thing. And I'm thinking, wow, this is great. This is awesome. But people that have a lot of pride, take a lot of offense and get angry, they're serious, super serious. And it's like, you want to come up to them and like tickle them and saying, come on, laugh, you can do it. I know you can. And they're like, ugh. They want to beat you up more. It's like, seriously, stop it. And if you're, especially if like you're doing ministry with people, keep it light. There's obviously people that have been hurt deeply, and they're going to be crying when you're going through ministry. That's right. I get that. I understand that totally. But when you start to help a person come away from that, and they go through the deliverance that they need, they're going to be laughing more. They're going to be cracking up. But there are times that you do have to be serious about stuff. So Ecclesiastes 3:1-4 says this. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. They should make a song about this. A time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted. I think that's like reaping and harvesting. That's kind of weird why they worded it that way. A time to pluck what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. Remember, that was in like Footloose, I believe. Who here has ever watched the movie Footloose? I remember all those songs that came out. You know, Kenny Loggins, and watched that movie, and has Kevin Bacon in it and Laurie Singer. But he actually quoted that scripture because the pastor was like very religious. Unfortunately, the kids weren't like the most godliest in that movie either. But I remember, you know, that song "Footloose," and everybody probably remembers that. You can't not tap your foot to that and want to start dancing and stuff. So had what Sean Penn in it, I think, and he didn't know how to dance. He was very cumbersome and so forth. So anyway, but there is a time that we need to laugh, and a lot of times people neglect that. And there's so many healthy benefits of laughing. You know, there's a time to weep. It says before that. Yes, if you've gone through a trauma and your heart's been broken, then there's a time to cry. It may take you weeks and or months to recover from that. You know, I know that and that feeling. And those that don't go through the healing process, you know, are it may be even longer if they're suppressing that, or if they have such an anger and a hatred inside them. You know, they've taken it out on a person that maybe the person didn't do anything at all to them, but the demonic spirit thought and made them believe that that did happen, and so they have a lot of anger and hatred. They take an offense, and they can't laugh, they can't have fun, they can't have joy. So I'm going to share a testimony. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to share a testimony myself. This happened. A lot of you have heard about this testimony before that have followed me for a while. Some of you that are new, and there's a lot of you that are new, I know that, and so have never heard this before. So oftentimes the Lord likes to, and the angels like to play tricks on people just to have fun. They like to play. They like to frolic, you know, frolic in the meadow. And so I actually talked about you earlier, Tina, so you missed it. Sorry, too bad. But a lot of you know about this situation. So some of you that are new have never heard this before. So if you've only joined like in the last, I don't know, 6 months, you've not heard this before. So I was in Kentucky. Everybody's like, oh, I remember this. This is the good one. I was in Kentucky. This was last year. And I was meeting this gentleman. We'll say his name's Joey. For like, this was like the second time I ever met him. And it was like in the same week. And I was praying for him. He went through a lot of tragedy. Had an accident with an animal that was like giving him lots of pain. Still has lots of horrendous pain. But after getting done ministering and praying with him, I was going back to Indiana before I was going out to New York to be there for like 3 weeks. So this is back in like late May of last year, like Memorial Day weekend. And I was hungry, ready for lunch. And I oftentimes eat at Subway. People that know me, people that are close to me know that I go to Subway oftentimes, get like a steak and cheese, 6-inch whole wheat, you know, pickles, green peppers, spinach, tomato, chipotle Southwest sauce. And sometimes I'll get cookies with it. I normally drink water with that. So anyway, I was going to stop there at Subway to get that. And as I'm driving out, I noticed there was like some barbecue stuff going on at this place that looked like it was a community center, that maybe they were having like a church group fundraiser or something like that. Well, I'm driving by it, and I was just simply going to drive on by and go on to a Subway. Well, I felt, you know, impressed by the Holy Spirit saying, stop there. You know, I want you to stop there, you know, and have some barbecue. And so I'm like, huh. So I ended up actually driving by it, and then I heard the Holy Spirit again say, go back there. I'm like, ugh, all right. So I turned around, pulled in, and I was like the first customer there. So I walk up, and there's these two African American guys. In fact, I noticed that most of the people there, you know, were African American. And one guy was cooking, I don't know, like maybe pork chops. The other one was cooking ribs. And they were both trying to vie for my business. And so I asked him, how much is it? He said, it's just a donation. And I'm thinking, oh, cool. All right. So I gave him $20. And then I got, I guess it was pork chops or something. And I asked them if they had any sides to go with it. And they said, oh, yes, we have sides. They're inside. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go inside the building. And they're like loading up my plate with things. And they're giving me some kind of pie that I'd never heard of before. And it all looked great. And so then I was getting ready to leave. And I'm like, hey, by the way, I go, what kind of church, you know, fundraiser is this? And they're like, oh, this isn't a fundraiser. This is a family reunion. like, really? A family reunion? I'm like, seriously, Holy Spirit. And they were black. They were African American. And if you've looked at me lately, I am not. So of course they're cracking up. I'm, I don't know what to do. I'm like, what? What did you do to me, Holy Spirit? You know? And again, if I was a serious person, I might get mad and rah, rah, take an offense, you know, got mad at God or whatever, but I'm cracking up with them. And then they're like, let's get a picture with the family. You know, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so we did. We took a picture there, and I'm just like, I'm embarrassed because I'm like, I just crashed a family reunion. I'm like, what in the world? I have never done that before, ever. I'm like, thanks. And of course, they're playing along with it, which is like making it even funnier because like they're just cracking up along the way. And, you know, and in fact, one of the ladies had a shirt on that said, God got me on it. And I'm thinking, yep, God got me, you know. It's like, so it was hilarious. It was funny. And I'm cracking up. You know, I posted that on Facebook. I had like 300 people within like an hour cracking up, dying laughing because it was funny, you know. And that's what I am like. When people that know me, I crack up. I like to have fun, you know. Sometimes I might even sing songs to the 80s in my car. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't do that. You know, of course, they can't be like songs of sex and evil stuff and stuff like that. But there are some, you know, you think about that. We can get so religious that we're like, oh, frump, 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 frump. We have to only listen to Christian music. You know, I listen to Christian music like 95% of the time, you know, but there are some times when I'm like, I've listened to the same songs like a gazillion times. And it's like, you know what? I can go back to the 80s and the 70s and listen to decent songs, you know? Like this, like I was reading here about Ecclesiastic, where it says, there's a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant. You know, there's a song they made about that, you know? So again, we have to not take ourselves so seriously. Because if we do, who wants to be around a person who's super serious, who's super religious, you know? And in fact, I have a friend named Robia. Robia's out in California, you know, and she actually has a teaching too about not being religious, you know, getting away from the religious spirit, you know. And you may know some people like, well, I couldn't possibly listen to anything but you know, Christian music or gospel. And I'm like, really? What kind of life do you live? You know, it's like, oh my goodness, that sounds very religious. You know, I could see Jesus today coming back and having fun, you know, enjoying life. And not being, I mean, because again, we can be so judgmental over people. I was judgmental over people that had gone through divorces before I went through a divorce. You know, I was very much thinking, I don't want my children to pay with those children because they're damaged. You know, that's what happens when you go through a divorce. Well, then when it happened to me and I couldn't stop it, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I could see how the children got hurt. I'm like, now I have a whole new appreciation, you know, for all of this. So, yes, you were singing the song Turn, Turn, Turn. Well, that's funny. What? When I first started talking about the seasons? That is funny. Yes. So, I mean, there's songs that will take you back too. You start thinking about these songs. If you do listen to a song from your past, it will take you like oftentimes right back. I have one song that uh, Josie on a vacation far away, talk it over. Every time I hear that song, I think about playing tennis with this person that I used to play tennis with a lot. And I'm thinking, every time I hear that song, or maybe a song that you listen to takes you back to your prom, if you went to your prom, you know. Of course, there may be some songs that cause you to think about a breakup during that time. So isn't it interesting how quickly that if you get into, you know, more of a fun part of your life instead of being all super serious and wanting to kill people and kill demons and kill, you know, talking about whatever evil things. So I'm going to talk about now, and there's others that, you know, you probably have a lot of fun stuff, you know, fun skating to things. Yes, Christy, and fun, like in 4-H. I used to be in 4-H, and we used to put on skits. Oh yeah, I forgot all about this. Guess what? For one of my skits, I did a personal one. Now we do have a thing called Share the Fun, where we actually had the entire group. We actually did a mock knockoff of what's it called? It had Fran Tarkenton in it, and this pretty blonde, and then this other guy, Davidson, John Davidson, called that's incredible or something like that. And anyway, they would interview people and have incredible stories and so forth. And some of them would be, really cool. Well, we did a takeoff on that where we acted like we found Bigfoot on our farm. And so we would show video. Well, I dressed up as Bigfoot. And I remember I'm like in our woods shaking this tree, and I actually got a thorn in my hand. And it wasn't very funny. And I'm like shaking the tree. And when they're videotaping this, we actually did the skit. We actually had the whole scene of people acting like they were John Davidson and the cute, pretty blonde woman, and then Fran Tarkenton, the former football quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. So anyway, at the Share the Fun event, they one time I decided to act like I was Michael Jackson, the Michael Jackson. I liked his songs actually at the time. He didn't have the really weird stuff going on yet. So Beat It and Thriller and stuff. I mean, Thriller was kind of obviously a little evil, deep, but some of the songs, little love songs and so forth. So I remember I acted like Michael Jackson, and I put on a white glove, and I actually did a moonwalk on the stage in front of people. In the moonwalk, you push your foot like this, and you come back, and you go backwards. Basically, it's kind of cool. So anyway, I had fun doing that. A lot of people didn't know that. I was in 4-H, and everywhere I went, I wanted to have fun. I always figured that, well, if you have to do a lot of work for something, put a lot of time into something, you might as well have fun doing it. Because if you don't, then you're boring. And nobody likes a boring Nelson. No one. No one likes a super serious Nelson. Although a lot of people, I'm talking about serious subjects, I have to be serious. So today we're being a little lighter. So anyway, in the Bible, there are some funny situations that happen. And so I'm going to read this one. I'm going to read several here. This one, a lot of people know, Acts 12:5-7. This is when Peter was in prison. So it says, Peter was therefore kept in prison, but constant prayer was offered to God for him by the church. And when Herod was about to bring him out that night, Peter was sleeping, bound with 2 chains between 2 soldiers, and the guards before the door were keeping the prison. Now behold, an angel of the Lord stood by him, and a light shone in the prison. And he struck Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, Arise quickly. And his chains fell off his hands. Then the angel said to him, Gird yourself and tie on your sandals. And so he did. And he said to him, Put on your garment and follow me. So he went out and followed him, and did not know that what was done by the angel was real, but thought he was seeing a vision. So he didn't know this was real. That's kind of cool. When they were past the first and the second guard posts, they came to the iron gate that leads to the city, which opened to them of its own accord. It's interesting, Accord. You think about the Honda Accord. Um, anyway, didn't have a car there to pick him up and take him. Too bad. They didn't have them back then. So anyway, which opened to them of its own accord. And they went out and went down one street, and immediately the angel departed from him. And when Peter had come to himself, he realized what was going on. He said, Now I know for certain that the Lord has sent his angel and has delivered me from the hand of Herod and from all the expectation of the Jewish people. So when he had considered this, he came to the house of Mary, the mother of John, whose surname was Mark, where many were gathered together praying. And as Peter knocked at the door of the gate, a girl named Rhoda came to answer. When she recognized Peter's voice, because of her gladness, she did not open the gate, but ran in and announced that Peter stood before the gate. But they said to her, You are beside yourself. Like, you're crazy. Yet she kept insisting that it was so. So they said, It is his angel. Can you imagine Peter at this time thinking, Hello, I'm knocking. It's me. And they're like, No, it's not. No, it's not. Just go away. He's like, Well, it is. It's really me. So what does Peter do? It says Peter continued knocking. So, hello, it's Peter. Hello. Everybody's like, Go away, go away. I'm sure he's thinking, really? Seriously? I've been in jail for all this time, and now I'm out. You've been praying for me, and you're not letting me come in. I wonder what he was thinking at that point in time. Like, gee, maybe I should just go somewhere else. So it says, and then when they finally opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. But motioning to them with his hand to keep silent, he declared to them how the Lord had brought him out of the prison. And he said, "Go, tell these things to James and to the brethren." And he departed and went to another place. Well, I would probably too. Saying, seriously? Really? Thanks a lot, people, for making me knock multiple times before I can actually get there inside. Another story. This involves Jesus. A lot of people thinking, well, Jesus, he was always serious, No, there was times that he was having fun. And this is kind of a funny story. And a lot of people maybe don't even know about this one. It talks about when Jesus came back, and he's talking with Cleopas and another man, and they don't know who Jesus is. This is after he died. Okay, this is, let me see it here. Luke 24:13-35. It says, "Now behold, two of them were traveling that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. So it was, while they conversed and reasoned, that Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were restrained, so they did not know him." So how many times are our eyes blinded by the light, Or are we, that's another song from the 80s, I believe. So, but they're blinded. The scales are put on, and we can't see the truth. Oftentimes we don't see the truth of a situation. We may believe based on lies that a person is evil and bad when they're not. They're actually really good. And the person that lied about them is the really bad one. So, anyways, it says, their eyes were restrained, so they did not know him. And Jesus said to them, "What kind of conversation is this that you have with one another as you walk and are sad?" So again, Jesus already knows, hello, I'm Jesus. I'm the guy you're talking about here that you're sad about. But he didn't let on. He's going to have some fun with them. Then the one whose name was Cleopas answered and said to him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem? And have you not known the things which happened there in these days?" And Jesus said to them, "What things? What things?" Jesus is having fun. He's like, I'm going to put one over on these guys, I can't wait. I want to hang out with Jesus, because I'm like, I want to laugh with him. He's going to be so funny. He's going to crack me up. So anyways, in fact, there's a couple times here in the last couple of weeks that I've been wanting to talk to Jesus, like face to face and saying, "You got some explaining to do." Anyways, wasn't that I Love Lucy, I think? And Ricky Ricardo. Those were the days. You got some explaining to do. All right. "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem? Have you not known the things which happened there in these days?" And he said to them, "What things?" So Jesus didn't let on, like, "What are we talking about? What you talking about, Cleo?" So they said to him, "The things concerning Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we were hoping that it was he who was going to redeem Israel. Indeed, besides all this, today is the third day since these things happened. Yes, and certain women of our company who arrived at the tomb early astonished us. When they did not find his body, they came saying that they had also seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. And certain of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but him they did not see." So then what did Jesus do? Jesus said to them, "O foolish ones and slow of heart." He kind of like talks some smack, Jesus the smack talker. I mean, isn't that funny? Slow of heart. "O foolish ones and slow of heart." Could have said and sluggish of mind. It says, "O foolish ones and slow of heart, to believe in all that the prophets have spoken. Ought not, ought not, ought not the Christ to have suffered these things and to enter into his glory?" And get a drink here. "And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. Then they drew near to the village where they were going, and he, Jesus, indicated that he would have gone farther. But they constrained him, saying, 'Abide with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is far spent.'" Sounds like something Shakespeare would say. The day is far spent. "And he went in to stay with them." So Jesus stayed. He hung out. Now it came to pass, as Jesus sat at the table with them, that he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. So up till now, they had no clue who Jesus was. And Jesus is just having fun with them. He's thinking, man, you guys are knuckleheads. How can you not know that I'm Jesus? Then it says their eyes were opened and they knew him. And then what happened? Jesus vanished. That's what it says. He vanished from their sight. So after, Jesus is stringing them along, and finally they, oh, you're Jesus. And it's like, he's gone. He gone. It's like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So they said to one another, did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us on the road and while he opened the scriptures to us? So they rose up that very hour and returned to Jerusalem and found the 11 and those who were with them gathered together, saying, the Lord is risen indeed and has appeared to Simon. And they told about the things that had happened on the road and how he was known to them in the breaking of bread. So again, that's Luke 24:13 through 35. So that was kind of funny, I thought. He could have right off the bat said, hello, knuckleheads, I'm Jesus. I am the one that you were seeking. But no, he played dumb. And that's kind of funny. Again, Jesus wasn't mean. He's not going to be mean-spirited. But I think there is a time sometimes when, you let a person maybe draw them on longer until they finally realize and recognize. I think in this case, maybe Jesus was trying to show them, hello, you need your spiritual eyes to be fine-tuned. You need to know who you're talking to. Who do you think I am? Why would I know all this stuff? And so pretty cool, I think. Because there are some funny stories that are there in the Bible. Another one's kind of funny that involves someone actually laughing is Genesis 18:6 through 15. Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. Isn't that a song in the 80s? I think it is. I think it's all about the 80s sometimes. All right, Genesis 18:6 through 15. So Abraham, Father Abraham, had many sons. Remember, that was a song we learned when we were in younger church. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, quickly, make ready 3 measures of fine meal. Knead it and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hastened to prepare it. So he took butter and milk and the calf which he had prepared and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree as they ate. Then they said to him, again, these are like angels that have appeared before Abraham. So they said to him, where is Sarah, your wife? So he said, here in the tent. And then the angels said, I will certainly return to you according to the time of life. And behold, Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. Sarah, mind you, was now listening in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old. Yes, they were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? And the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I surely bear a child since I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied it. She lied. Saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. Because, of course, the Lord knew. And he said, no, but you did laugh. So she was called out, So anyway, and there's other stories, of course, in the Bible that are funny. There's an example like with John when Jesus was not in the tomb, and he kept referring to himself as the faster one, running faster than I think it was Peter. Kept outrunning Peter. Like 3 different times he talks about that in the Bible. His version. If you read, I think Luke's version doesn't say anything in there about that. But John's trying to show him that he's a faster runner than Peter. So there are funny stories, of course. The donkey that was speaking, and You know, you know. In fact, there's a story where it was Jehoram that had died, and the person that had wrote about it was like, it was no great loss, basically, that the person died. It's like they really couldn't wait for that person to pass on. So he was not a very good king. So anyway, so there's a lot of stories that are in the Bible, and in our lives, if we can't laugh at ourselves, you know, and we take ourselves too seriously, then we are like a donkey. We need to laugh. We need to have fun. And yes, there is times to grieve, like it says in Ecclesiastes. There are times to mourn. There's times to be sad and cry your eyes out because maybe you were hurt deeply, or maybe you lost a loved one. I don't know what it's like to lose a spouse that loved me. I don't know what that would be like to have actually any spouse that would love me. I would love to have that, to see what that's like, because I've not experienced that yet. Um, but I know that there are people that have lost spouses that love them. And I'm thinking, my gosh, how rare is that, number one, to find a spouse that actually loves you? And then number two, to have them pass on before you and precede you. How sad would that be? To have someone that you really loved and cared for, that cared for you back. And because there's a lot of people out there, unfortunately, that have spouses that are bad to them, that are mean to them, lie about them, try to control and hurt them, and so forth. So, and when you're in that deep pain, it's like you can get stuck there, like we talked about with Legion. Legion takes you back to the pains of the past, the tombs of the past, and so forth. I actually did a deliverance of children last night. It was awesome. Children ages from like 6 up to like, I don't know, 15. And they were getting delivered from Legion, in Jezebel. But Legion, we did a specific one for Legion, as well as breaking up witchcraft prayers, curses over them. And a whole lot of yawning went on. Yawn, 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 and tingling in their bodies. It's cool when you get delivered from Legion. You think about Legion. Again, I wasn't even going to talk about Legion, but Legion has like 6,000 demons strong. When Jesus cast out the demons, and that's kind of I don't know, somewhat of a sad story for the pigs. Again, I think, the Jewish people didn't really think that the pigs were all that great to eat, so they would stay away from that, being unkosher or whatever. So anyway, I remember when I was over there in Israel that our tour director showed us where the hill was at, where the pigs supposedly were at. And so that's really cool when you can actually see that. So here I am, we're driving down the road next to the Sea of Galilee, and he said, right there, that is where the legion, the demons, were cast into the pigs at. And then you could see how it was slanted going down towards the Sea of Galilee. And how many pigs were taken? Their lives were like 2,000 of them. So if you think about maybe 3 demons per pig, that equates to 6,000. And so unfortunately, those demons, a lot of the demons were probably water spirits, marine spirits. Leviathan's like a water spirit. It took them back into and drowned them. Felt sorry for whoever the farmer was that had them. So anyways, so we have to understand that we can't be grieving forever of things in the past. There's a time for that. And then there's a time to move on. There's a time to laugh. And again, if you have children, again, I know that those that grew up with like a mother or father that had Jezebel or Leviathan, they'll try to pit the children against each other so that the kids won't like each other, and then they'll have nothing to do with each other. So it's very, very sad. But when you are a good father or a good mother, you want your children to get along. You want them to love each other. You don't want to have any favorites. You love them all equally. And it grieves you. It grieves the Heavenly Father when we have people that are in the church, supposedly supposed to be in the church, and they are being evil to each other. When somebody hurts someone, says a lie about them, and sells it and trying to hurt the person, that's bad. It's one thing to have someone that does something wrong to you, and then if the person addresses it, then you talk it through and you apologize and you move forward. It's a whole other thing when someone accuses you of something that you've never done and they make it up, and they try and sell it to people. That's really hard for a lot of people to take. A lot of times people don't even recover from that because they're like, I didn't do anything. And they're like, yep, well, that's what the spirits of Jezebel, Leviathan, and Legion do to people, is they can come up with lies at the top of the head. You know, as soon as they want to come up with something, they can spin it as much as they want, and then the people that are hurt are just hurt deeply. Well, we have to forgive those people. We have to say, okay, they're only doing that because they have been hurt themselves and they've not gotten healed yet. And try to laugh as best you can. I know a lot of times the Legion spirit will take you back to the past and keep you there in the tombs of your past forever, and keep reminding you of that over and over and over and over again. And then you live amongst the tombs. And so that's why we have to go through and get delivered from that. And you can. I know that Katie Souza does an amazing job with that, and she's great. And now the Lord has given me the anointing to do that as well, and we did that in the last Worldwide Deliverance session. I will do that everywhere I go now, from now on. We'll go through Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab, and Legion. Legion's a big one, like probably the biggest one out there. 6,000 demons, there's a lot in there. So anyways, good stuff. Maynard. So again, keep your laugh on. Keep your laugh on today. Try to find something funny if you're in pain. Try to find something. Try to remember something that was funny in your past. You know, something that was from your childhood that made you laugh. You know, I know a lot of you, maybe you didn't have good childhoods when you grew up, and I'm sorry for that. You know, I had a really good childhood. You know, I don't have anything to complain about at all, especially hearing all the stories from other people. You know, I thought my normal was normal for everyone. I truly did. And then I learned it wasn't, that a lot of people had moms and dads that actually were mean to them. And I couldn't fathom. I'm like, what? Why would a mom or dad be mean? Well, now I know why. They get hearing the voice of the demons. You know, they've been hurt by their mom or their dad, or they had sexual violations. So, but try to find something that was funny, you know, and maybe think about that and laugh about it. You know, and don't take yourself seriously about anything. You know, don't have pride. Get rid of that stuff. That's not good, not healthy. So anyway, all right. I am going to be January 18th, 19th in Houston at Journey U. It's a very amazing counseling center. They've done a lot of deliverances there. They use my book, Restored to Freedom, take people through prayers. They're doing a lot more now with the Legion spirit. Of course, Jezebel, Leviathan, Ahab, soul wound healing processes. But the 18th and 19th, I'll be doing a deliverance on the 18th, and the 19th, a training and equipping. And then February 3rd, we'll be doing a deliverance. And Houston again at Cool Ministries, which is awesome. Pastor Boyd Harrell, awesome man. Oh my gosh, his heart is so loving for people. I mean, it exudes Christ. I know, I love him. He's awesome. I was there in July and did deliverance there. We're going to be doing adding Legion to the deliverance, as well as breaking off witchcraft prayers. So it's going to be powerful. Yay. Can't wait. And then I'll be in April out in Montana, Billings, Montana, and then I'll be in Idaho Falls the first weekend of May, and then I'll be starting to schedule another trip out west to like California and Oregon and all the other places. So, alrighty, well, I will let you guys go, let you guys run. So keep your laugh on, and laughter is good medicine. So, love you guys. See ya. Bye-bye.